They say the stupidest thing a man can do is trust too hard. Funny thing is, I never thought I was that kind of man. I was cautious, measured, built everything I had with blood, sweat, and busted knuckles. I didn't come from money. I made it. 50-hour weeks turned into 80-hour weeks. One busted business led to a profitable one. One profitable one led to a chain. By 42, I turned scrap into gold. I wasn't some trust fund clown. I earned every damn dollar. And when I finally hit it big, I told myself, now you get to live. Now you get the dream. Her name was Vanessa. She came with long legs, a perfect smile, and a sob story about a rough past. She said I made her feel safe. I should have known then. That's what wolves say when they're casing a sheep pen. We got married 2 years in. Not that I had any illusions. I knew she liked luxury. But I believed, I could give her that and keep her loyalty too. Hell, we even had a kid. Brielle, 7 years old. Smart, beautiful, looked nothing like me, but I never questioned it. I loved that little girl with everything I had. We lived well. Big house in Aspen. A vacation spot in Cabo. Private schooling. Custom shoes. I did it all because I wanted them to feel secure. Secure enough not to look elsewhere. And then came the dream house. Not a mansion. Not a penthouse. But a place with land, with history. An old estate in the Carolinas with wraparound porches, a stone wine cellar, 100-year-old trees whispering secrets through the windows. A place to settle down. To start fresh. I sold some of my stocks, moved some investments. Liquidated $10 million in clean bills. Yeah, I know. Who the hell walks around with $10 million in cash? I didn't plan to. But the seller wanted it discreet, fast, no wires. I played the game to make the deal. And in the meantime, I stored the cash in Vanessa's safe. State-of-the-art thing. Biometric, 4-digit fallback, redundant time lock. Thought it'd be safe. I even joked about it. Keep an eye on our future, I said, handing her the bag. She smiled. Kissed me. I always do. That night, we had steak. Brielle watched cartoons in the other room. I poured wine, rubbed Vanessa's feet on the couch, and told her, next week, everything changes. She said, I know. It was the kind of moment you think you'll remember for the rest of your life. I didn't realize how right I was. The next morning, I woke up alone. Her side of the bed was cold. That wasn't unusual. Vanessa liked early mornings. Pilates, spa appointments, whatever rich wives did. But the house was silent. Not even a peep from Brielle's room. I got up, barefoot on hardwood, still half asleep. Vanessa? I called. Nothing. I walked to the kitchen. Empty. I checked Brielle's room. Empty. Then I saw it. A white envelope on the kitchen island, sealed in gold foil. It was addressed to my love. Inside was a single sheet of thick stationery. I can still feel the texture of that paper, like it was mocking me for not seeing through the gloss. The note read, thank you for the money. Now we can live the life of our dreams. Don't come looking. We're already too far gone. You always said we deserve the world. Now we have it. V and B. I stood there for a long time. Just stood. And then I ran to the safe. The door was open. The bag was there. Still zipped up. Still heavy. But when I opened it, when I reached inside expecting the soft leather of money bands, what I pulled out was bricks. Literal bricks. Spray-painted green. Weight balance to match. Meticulously done. Slipped right past me. And that was the moment. That was the moment when my knees buckled, and I fell to the cold tile, and I cried. Not for the money. Not even for the betrayal. I cried because they didn't even need to make it poetic. They just did it because they could. I sat there on the kitchen floor for what had to be an hour, knees on stone tile, fingers still twitching like they were searching for something real in a bag full of lies. It wasn't grief. Not yet. Grief comes after loss. This was realization. Not just that they were gone, but that I never really had them. I pulled myself up, knees stiff, spine sore from the fall. And I laughed. A dry, broken laugh that didn't sound like me. Because the truth? The $10 million didn't hurt as much as that last line in the letter. Now we have it. We, Vanessa and Brielle, my wife, and the little girl I raised like my own flesh and blood. Together. Smiling, probably. Riding first class towards some ocean I paid for, sipping juice and champagne and calling it freedom. I needed air. I stumbled out the front door into a misty Carolina morning. The sun hadn't fully risen yet. The trees whispered secrets I didn't care to hear. I lit a cigarette for the first time in 4 years and let the smoke claw down my throat like punishment. Then I called the cops, not because I thought they'd help, but because it's what a good man does, or what a man pretending to be a good man does when his entire world's collapsed. The officer who answered had that bored, Friday morning tone, until I said 10 million in cash. Suddenly, I had a detective at my house inside 20 minutes. His name was Ruben, early 40s. Ex-military, I guessed from the stance. Sharp eyes, quiet mouth. He walked into my home like he already knew it was too late. "You're saying your wife and daughter disappeared overnight?" he asked, scanning the room. "They left a note. It's on the counter." He read it, eyebrows rising. 10 million? He asked. I nodded. "You keep that kind of cash in a residential safe?" "Not by choice. I was making a property deal. Temporary hold." He didn't say anything at first. Just turned to me, slow and steady. "Do you have cameras?" I did. Top of the line, infrared night vision, cloud-backed security. Vanessa insisted when we installed them. She said she didn't feel safe in such a remote house. I brought him to the security room. For monitors, 6 feet. And every one of them. Black. "Looks like your system was disabled around 2:17 a.m., Ruben said, tapping the screen. "How?" He shrugged. "Could be internal override. Could be remote." "You said your wife used to handle the system." "Yeah. Then she probably had the master code." "You'd be amazed how often it's that simple." He asked the usual. Did she have family nearby? A passport? Any history of mental illness or erratic behavior? No. Yes. No. "She took my daughter," I said. "That has to count as kidnapping, right?" He gave me a long look. "Legally, if she's the mother and there's no custody order, it's murky. Gray area. Not impossible, but hard to enforce, especially if she's out of state or out of the country." "You're telling me a woman can rob her husband, take a child, disappear in the night, and walk away clean?" "I'm telling you it happens more often than you think," he replied. "And if she planned this right, and from the looks of that fake money, she definitely did, then she's been working on it for months." He paused. "Maybe years." I clenched my jaw so hard it cracked. Ruben gave me his card. Said he'd start the search, but with no digital trail, this could take time. I nodded. He left. And that's when the crying stopped. That's when I realized what I needed to do. I walked back to the safe, looked at the bag, reached down, pulled the bottom zipper apart, and found nothing. No tracker. No message. Not even a signature goodbye. Just bricks. The kind you use to build something permanent or bury something deep. You know what they say. When you lose everything, you find out who you really are. Well, turns out, who I really am, is a man who keeps receipts. And this time, I'd be the one writing the bill. There's this thing they say in courtrooms and crime novels, follow the money. But when it's your money and your blood, you don't follow. You hunt. After Detective Ruben left, I sat in the silence of that hollow house and asked myself one question over and over. Why did she take Brielle? If Vanessa wanted out, she could have left clean. She could have taken her half of our assets, demanded a divorce, and bled me slowly like any good divorce lawyer teaches their clients. But she didn't. She took the girl with her. And that stung more than anything. Because I loved that kid. I mean it. I kissed her boo-boos, made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs, sat through birthday parties with screaming kids and glitter everywhere. I was her father. Or at least, I thought I was. Until I remembered a conversation from a year ago. Some stupid TV show was on about paternity fraud. I made a comment, half joking, half serious. Wouldn't happen to me. I'd know. Vanessa just smiled. Would you? That smile, God, it was sharp. I didn't see it then. But now? It burned in my memory like a brand. So that night, I went upstairs, dug through the file cabinet in the office, found the envelope labeled Brielle, birth certificate. I opened it. Inside was the official birth record. Her mother, Vanessa Camille Morgan. Her father, blank. No name. No signature. I sat there staring at that empty box, heart pounding like a war drum in my ears. The woman I gave everything to couldn't even be bothered to fill in my name. Now, some men would have thrown things, punched walls, screamed at ghosts. Me? I got up, quietly, drove to the one place Vanessa never cared to ask about. My shop. Most people didn't know I still had it. A small, gray-bricked office off Route 92. Used to be the headquarters for my first company before I sold it. Now it was my escape hatch, an unlisted place where I kept backups, documents, old gear, and secrets. There, I pulled out a manila folder with a strand of Brielle's hair. One I'd saved from a haircut when she was 5. Don't ask me why. Call it father's instinct. I paired it with my own and called an old friend, Darren. Ex-lab tech turned private DNA consultant. Kicked out of academia for calling out corruption, so now he worked for people like me. Quiet jobs. No questions. You sure you want this? He asked over the phone. Most men don't ask unless they already suspect. I'm not most men, I said. And I stopped hoping hours ago. I dropped the samples at his mailbox the next morning. Paid cash. Told him I wanted results in 48 hours, tops. He didn't argue. And then I waited. 2 days later, I got the email. Subject, paternity analysis. Result, not the biological father. Confidence level, 99.99%. I didn't even blink. I just sat back in the leather chair, staring at the wall like it owed me an apology. Brielle, my daughter, wasn't mine. Not by blood. Not by truth. Just a pawn. A prop in Vanessa's play. That's when the rage didn't burn anymore. It froze. Cold. Focused. Clean. Because now I had nothing left to lose. And that makes a man like me very, very dangerous. There's something about betrayal that sharpens the senses. Colors get brighter. Time slows. You start noticing things you'd always ignored. Like how your wife always used her laptop in the sunroom, never the office. How she'd tilt the screen when I walked by. Smile a little too quick. Close a window a little too fast. I thought she was planning vacations. Turns out, she was planning exile. With 10 million of my dollars. After the DNA results, I didn't cry. Didn't scream. I just moved. Cold. Surgical. I logged into her laptop. I'd given it to her last year, top-end MacBook Pro. Set it up myself. I knew the admin password. And the backdoor. She'd changed the password. That was cute. But I'd hardwired an override tool when I installed parental controls for Brielle, of course. That control panel gave me root access in under 90 seconds. She never even bothered to wipe the system. Sloppy. First stop, her browser history. Deleted. Second stop, her private folders. Encrypted. But she'd forgotten one thing. I'm the man who built an encryption tool she uses. She thought she was hiding files in some boutique password manager. What she didn't know was that it was my company's code, years ago, back when I still cared about innovation. I cracked the folder in 15 minutes. What I found was everything. A second email account, vanessa.adrift@protonmail.com. An offshore bank login, Cayman-based, masked behind a digital privacy firm. Copies of fake IDs. Her photo, new name, Valerie Crane. A scanned passport for Brielle, different last name. Crane again. An itinerary. One-way flight. Zurich. Then train to Lugano. Private driver to Italy. And one last file. A message. A video file labeled simply, for when he finds out. I stared at that title for a long time before pressing play. The screen lit up. Vanessa. Sitting in the sunroom, light on her hair, that smug calm plastered on her face. Hi, baby. If you're watching this. I guess you figured it out. I knew you would. That's the thing about you. You're too smart to stay blind forever, but too sentimental to act until it's too late. Don't bother chasing us. The money's gone. Brielle is mine. And you? You're free. You always said I deserved the world. Now I finally took it. Then she winked. She winked. And the video ended. I sat back, teeth clenched. Not in pain. Not in grief. But in clarity. You see, Vanessa made one fatal mistake. She thought this game was about escaping. It wasn't. This was about execution. About timing. About knowing which thread to pull and when. And she'd handed me the entire map. You don't spend 10 years building empires without learning to track movement, read money, trace footprints even when they're barefoot and running. Vanessa thought she disappeared. She didn't. She left fingerprints in fiber optics, in login attempts, in GPS drift trails, in the metadata of her own damn vacation photos. She forgot who built the system she was running from. And now? I wasn't chasing her. I was hurting her. Revenge isn't rage. It's not shouting in the rain or slashing tires in a motel parking lot. It's silence. Cold, patient, watchful. And I was done reacting. Now I was calculating. Vanessa had covered her tracks just well enough to fool a bored detective and a distracted banker. But not me. Because the thing she underestimated wasn't my intelligence, it was my discipline. And discipline is what turns a man into a ghost hunter. I started with the flight. Zurich. One way. No check bags. Just carry-ons, probably loaded with fake names and cash. The mistake? She used a burner phone to book it. Not a dumb move on its own, except she bought the SIM card using my company credit card. She forgot I read the statements line by line. Always had. Even when I acted like I didn't care about her weekly spa trips or overpriced juice cleanses. I never missed a line item. SIM card. Bought 2 weeks ago. Store on 6th and Braxton. I made one call. Jason Liu. Former employee. IT security. Quiet, brilliant, and fired from a hedge fund after exposing their CEO's mistress for embezzling millions through fake charity donations. Why did I trust him? Because he had the same kind of broken sense of justice I did. And he owed me a favor. Need you to track a trail, I said. Ghosts. 2 of them. Zurich. I'll send you everything. He didn't ask why. He didn't need to. While he went to work on the digital trail, I moved on to the money. Vanessa's Cayman account wasn't as secure as she thought. See, the digital privacy firm she used? I helped fund it. They used my original encryption framework before I sold the license. Still had backdoor access. Not legal, maybe. Not moral, definitely. But I wasn't in the mood for ethics. When I logged in, I saw 5 wire transfers from my own liquidated holdings, totaling just under $9.85 million. Smart. Leave a small buffer. Just enough to avoid flagging a full 10 mil jump. But here's where it gets beautiful. The account had a rule. Every transaction auto-generates a silent copy for audit. Where does it send the copy? To a personal vault email she forgot to scrub, morgan.archive@icloud.com. Vanessa wasn't as clever as she thought. She was just careless. That inbox was full of receipts, private plane quotes, Bitcoin transfers, even an application for dual citizenship in Malta. And the best part? A hotel confirmation. Villa Elora, just north of Lake Como. 2 nights. Under the name Crane, Valerie, and Belle. They were staying in luxury 2 days before crossing into southern France. I had them. I didn't call the police. I didn't tip off Interpol. That's not how you handle ghosts. I called Derek Foster. Old war buddy. Turned private investigator. The kind who keeps 3 phones, never updates his address, and carries 2 passports even when he's walking his dog. Lake Como, I told him. Villa Elora. Room 4C. What do you want done? He asked. Photos. Video. Witnesses. I want a record. No confrontation. No noise. Just documentation. And keep your distance. I don't want her to know she's being watched. Derek chuckled. You still play the long game. Always. I hung up, stared at the blank screen. For the first time in days, I felt something that wasn't rage. It was clarity. She was cornered. She just didn't know it yet. I wasn't going to drag her back. I wasn't going to plead or demand an apology. No, that would be merciful. I was going to unmake her. Piece by piece. Publicly. Legally. Irrevocably. They say revenge is best served cold. But first, it's served on paper. You want to bring someone down, truly down, you don't kick in their door with a gun. You bleed them slowly, through court filings and credit freezes and asset seizures. You let the system do the stabbing while you hold the pin. Vanessa thought she won because she ran with the money. She forgot I owned the blueprint. The morning after I confirmed her location in Italy, I met with my attorney. Not my usual one, the suit who handled business contracts and politely avoided confrontation. No, I called Mallory Kane. She's 5 feet 2 inches, Southern bred, Yale-educated, and legally terrifying. The kind of woman who wins cases before the courtroom door even closes. You bring hell? She asked, sipping coffee like it was bourbon. I bring proof, I said, handing her the file. She flipped through it. Fake passports, Cayman transfers, the DNA results. Her eyebrow arched when she saw the birth certificate. You're not the biological father? Nope. Then let's burn this thing down, she said, snapping the folder shut. We filed 3 motions before lunch. Petition to disestablish paternity. Filed in the state where Brielle was born. With DNA proof and no signed birth certificate, I wasn't legally obligated as her father anymore. Harsh? Maybe. But necessary. Vanessa had used that girl as a shield. I wasn't going to let her keep the sword, too. Emergency injunction to freeze joint assets. Even though she tried to go offshore, she was sloppy. She forgot a shared business account we opened 3 years ago to funnel investment income. I used it to pay contractors. She used it to buy custom rugs and spa weekends. Mallory filed to freeze it immediately. Once granted, the injunction reached into anything linked, her credit cards, her brokerage, even a shared Amazon Prime account. One tap, and she'd be locked out of everything she used to look rich. Fraudulent conveyance complaint. This one was delicious. We argued the money was never gifted, never hers to begin with, that she used deception to acquire it. In the eyes of the court, that made the transfer potentially criminal. And criminal means leverage. Not jail time, no, not yet. But embarrassment, loss of credibility, and the kind of pressure that makes people talk. By the end of the week, her digital house of cards started collapsing. Mallory got the court to send notices to Vanessa Morgan, Valerie Crane, and the as-yet unnamed alias she'd used to sign for a French phone plan. And thanks to her encrypted but not very private iCloud backups, we now had PDFs of her rental contracts, a wire confirmation to a private school in Geneva, and best of all, a scanned copy of a prenup agreement draft. See, months ago, she'd floated the idea of us renewing our vows. Said she wanted to rewrite the rules for a new decade of love. It was a trap, a setup. She wanted me to sign over assets in advance of the theft. I declined, of course. Said, we don't need that between us. She smiled, kissed me, and said I was right. Then filed the documents anyway under a dummy name and forged signature. I now had evidence of premeditation. The court didn't just see a woman who ran off with money. They saw a con artist. But I wasn't done. I called Darren again. I need to leak something. To the press? No. Somewhere better. There's a private Telegram group where hedge fund guys, real estate whales, and bored billionaires trade gossip the way suburban moms trade casserole recipes. I've been lurking in there for years, silent, invisible. Vanessa had always wanted in. She didn't know I already was. I posted anonymously. Investor alert. Woman posing as American heiress in Lake Como area using fake credentials, laundering stolen funds from U.S. business tycoon. Authorities involved. Multiple aliases. Real name, Vanessa Morgan. Currently traveling with a child under false paternity. Then I attached a photo. Her, in a wide-brimmed hat, laughing by the lake. The group went wild. A dozen people recognized her. 2 claimed to have met her at charity auctions. One guy from Berlin said she tried to pitch him a wellness brand last month. By sundown, her digital reputation was ash. And that was just day one. You ever watch a spider trap a fly? It doesn't chase. It waits. Lets the fool buzz itself deeper into the threads. Lets the panic do the work. Then, just when the prey thinks it's found a way out, snap, the web closes. That's where Vanessa was now. Buzzing. She just didn't know I built the web. It started with silence. No cards worked. Her Uber app wouldn't verify payment. Airbnb denied her login. And the best part? Her offshore account, the crown jewel, froze after a routine audit, was triggered by Mallory's injunction. I hadn't lifted a finger to touch her. But every one of her lifelines? Gone. Derek, my guy on the ground, had her under a long lens at Villa Elora. His photos showed the cracks forming. Vanessa at the hotel desk, arguing, then pleading. Her smile gone. Hands up in frustration. No credit cards working. No PayPal backup. The concierge gave her the look every man recognizes. Not my problem. Brielle stood behind her, clutching a stuffed unicorn. Even in that moment, it hit me. That little girl still had no idea she was a prop in her mother's grift. A name on a forged passport. A bargaining chip in a bag full of cash that wasn't real anymore. I felt a knot in my chest. And then I remembered the DNA. And it went away. Derek followed them as they left the villa. 2 suitcases. Vanessa in oversized sunglasses, moving faster than she wanted to show. She called a car service, but this wasn't America. This was Italy. She had to pay for it. In cash. The driver waited 10 minutes. She offered jewelry. He declined. She offered her watch. Still no. Eventually, she begged a tourist to help translate. A woman from Denmark handed her 50 euros and walked away with a look that said, I know what you are. Eventually, Vanessa and Brielle caught a train north toward the Swiss border. And I already had a friend waiting in Geneva. Nico Salvi, private security consultant. Former Interpol liaison. Wears suits like armor and smiles like he knows how the story ends. I called him that night. Nico, they're headed your way. He didn't even ask who. Just said, you want quiet or you want a message? Quiet. But send a whisper through the trees. So he did. He didn't touch her. Didn't approach. Just made sure her name came up on the hotel blacklist. The rental agency she'd booked through? Suddenly, overcapacity. Even her SIM card started getting strange pings, texts in French she couldn't read. Everywhere she turned, someone knew. Not exactly what, but something. It's what we call psychological escalation. You don't need to throw bricks. Just rattle the windows. By the third day in Switzerland, Derek caught her pacing outside a bakery. No phone in hand. Just her eyes scanning every passerby, every car that idled too long. She wasn't running anymore. She was hiding. And that's when I made my move. A single package. Delivered to her hotel desk in Lucerne. No return address. Inside? A printed copy of her own video message, the one she recorded for me. A photo of her holding the burner phone. And one line, written in her own handwriting, traced back from the birth certificate application she forgot I still had. You always said I deserved the world. Now I finally took it. Except underneath it, I'd written, "You didn't take the world, Vanessa. You just borrowed a match. Corner a fox, and it doesn't attack right away. No, first, it circles. Tests the perimeter. Looks for cracks. Looks for a weak spot in the trap it swore it wouldn't fall into." That's where Vanessa was now. After Lucerne, Derek said she stopped staying in hotels. Too exposed. Too traceable. She moved to short-term rentals, Airbnb aliases, and prepaid Wi-Fi. Used cash only. Burners only. But even then, she couldn't hide from the thing that always betrays people like her. The need for validation. She still thought someone, anyone, might come to her defense. So she started calling. Not me. Never me. She called my brother, Travis. A man I hadn't spoken to in 3 years. Why? Because Vanessa helped wedge us apart over a stupid inheritance dispute. And she thought that wedge still held. But blood's funny like that. Travis called me that night. "Guess who just rang me up sobbing like she was in a telenovela," he said. "She asked you for money?" Not directly. Just kept saying she was in trouble and that I was the only one who ever understood her. "I told her to call you." She said, "He wants to destroy me." I said, "Sounds fair." We hadn't laughed together like that in years. Score one for poetic justice. But she didn't stop there. She tried my business partner, Ezra, the guy who helped me build the first 2 companies from scratch. She told him I was emotionally unstable, that I'd lost it, that I was lashing out because I couldn't handle a strong woman. Ezra sent me the call recording. I played it 3 times. She never once denied stealing the money. Never once explained the fake passports. But she cried like she'd just been wronged by God himself. If you didn't know better, you'd think she was the victim. People like Vanessa are always victims, in their own minds. I released the recording to one place. A private forum of angel investors I belong to. You see, Vanessa had been trying to launch a wellness brand. Probably planned to use my money to bankroll it. I recognized some of the logos in her burner email drafts. So I posted. Warning, Vanessa Morgan, aliases, Valerie Crane, VC Layton, currently under legal investigation for asset theft, ID fraud, and paternity deception. Attached, phone call audio plus document trail. The post exploded. 3 founders messaged me within an hour. All had spoken with her. 2 had considered early-stage funding. 1 had given her a soft commitment. She said she was married to a tech exec, 1 wrote. She said he died in a plane crash, another said. She said the kid was autistic and she needed seed money for an app. Each story, different lie. Each lie, crafted. Custom-tailored manipulation. But she miscalculated one thing. I wasn't a man reacting emotionally. I was a CEO with receipts. And the house of cards she'd built was now being torched room by room. Derek called again that night. She's using a new phone. But this one's not encrypted. Texted someone named Jade S. yesterday. I intercepted the message. What did it say? He read it aloud. He knows everything. We need to disappear. I can't outrun this alone. Jade S. I knew the name. Vanessa's old college roommate. Went off the grid 5 years ago. Last I heard, she was shacking up with an ex-con and running a crystal therapy spa in Lisbon. That's when I knew where Vanessa was going next. Portugal. She wasn't escaping anymore. She was retreating. One last hope. One last friend. Good. Let her run. I had already booked the flight. Not to stop her, but to watch her fall in person. Lisbon was beautiful that time of year. Warm wind off the Atlantic, sunlight draped over terracotta roofs like golden velvet. It would have been a perfect place to disappear. And that's exactly why Vanessa ran there. Problem was, she forgot one thing. You don't hide in paradise without attracting shadows. Jade St. Clair. Born in Houston, dropped out of NYU, 2 stints in minor rehab, then poof, vanished into the Bohemian fringe. Last known location? Lisbon's Alfama district. Ran a healing house above a vintage bookstore. Acupuncture, essential oils, moon water alignments. Yeah, that Jade. She and Vanessa were thick as thieves back in the day. Literally. Kicked out of a sorority together for credit card scams. Vanessa always said Jade was the ride-or-die type. Turns out, that's true, right until the ride gets bumpy. Derek followed them from the Lisbon train station. Vanessa had ditched her sunglasses by then. Face bare. Hair tied back. She didn't look glamorous anymore. She looked like what she was, a cornered animal. Brielle clung to her side as they turned down a narrow cobblestone alley and climbed 3 flights of iron stairs. The door had a brass sun engraved on it. Jade opened it. Derek got a few long-lens shots, Vanessa hugging Jade, almost collapsing into her arms. Brielle stepped in behind them, dragging the stuffed unicorn by the leg. The door shut. They were in. And that's when I stepped off the plane. I wasn't here to confront her. Not yet. I was here to finish the job. The next morning, I had breakfast in Barro Alto with Marcos Rocha, a Lisbon attorney who specialized in international asset recovery. I handed him everything: passport forgeries, stolen funds, the parental fraud angle. In Portugal, using a child as a shield for international crime carries teeth. I assume discretion? Marcos asked, sipping his espresso. For now, I said. I'm not here to arrest her. I'm here to isolate her. She won't have many friends left after this. She doesn't have many to begin with. 2 days later, Jade reached out. To me. Not through email. Not a text. A letter. Handwritten. Delivered to my hotel by courier. It read. I didn't know what she'd done. She said you went crazy. Said you were abusive. She showed up with nothing but fear in her eyes and a child on her hip. I believed her for a minute. Then I found the phone. The burner. Saw the video she recorded for you. You're not the monster here. She is. She's not even the same person I knew. You want her location? You already know it. You want her trust broken? Consider it done. You want her alone? She is now. The next day, Vanessa walked out of Jade's apartment looking hollow. Alone. Brielle wasn't with her. I don't know what happened in that room. Maybe Jade confronted her. Maybe she finally saw through the glass walls of the lies she'd been living in. Whatever it was, it left Vanessa shaken. She tried calling someone. Derek snapped the photo. Her hands shook. She didn't connect. She stood on that sidewalk for 20 full minutes before slowly walking down the street, dragging her suitcase behind her. A woman with nowhere left to go. I didn't feel triumph. I felt completion. Vanessa had tried to vanish with my money, my name, my legacy. Now she had nothing but a suitcase full of clothes she didn't buy, a name that wasn't hers, and a daughter who might one day learn the truth from someone else, because Vanessa couldn't be trusted to tell it herself. The message came at 2:47 a.m. Lisbon time. No subject, no greeting, just a raw, ragged line of text in my inbox. I'm sorry. Please talk to me. I'm not okay. It was from Vanessa's old Gmail account, the one tied to online shopping sprees and vacation confirmations. The one she probably thought I'd long stopped checking. I hadn't. I stared at the screen for a full minute. She wasn't lying. She wasn't okay. And that wasn't my problem anymore. But it was my opportunity. By now, her accounts were dead. Her options were gone. The friends had dried up. Jade had turned her back. Her fake passports were flagged. Her money? Traced, frozen, poisoned. All she had left was that one thing I'd spent 10 years giving her. Me. So I gave her what she wanted. Sort of. I wrote back one line. Tell me everything. No lies. One shot. She replied less than 5 minutes later. The message was frantic. Half typed, half sobbed into the keyboard, I imagine. It wasn't supposed to be like this. I was scared. I didn't think you'd understand. You were always so controlled, so together. I felt invisible. You never noticed me anymore. And he made me feel seen. And then I saw the money. And I thought maybe we could finally start fresh. I thought you'd be fine. I thought you had more. I don't know what I thought. I miss you. I miss her having you. I want to come back. Come back? To what? The marriage you hollowed out? The daughter that isn't mine? The life you looted like a hotel minibar? I didn't respond. Not for a few hours. Instead, I called Mallory Kane, my attorney. Tape's rolling, she said before I even spoke. Good. Then I read Vanessa's email into the recorder, word for word. Now what? Mallory asked. Now, I said, we give her a way out. Forgiveness. No. A decision. I drafted one final message. Short. Precise. Vanessa, you have 2 options. Option A. You return to the States, face the charges, and we settle this in court. You'll lose custody, lose the public image, lose access to anything with a dollar sign. Option B. You relinquish all claims to the Morgan estate, sign a binding affidavit waiving parental support, and disappear under a legal identity with my full permission. I drop the charges. You keep your fake name. I never speak of you again. You get freedom, not forgiveness. Choose by tomorrow. M. I sent it. And I waited. She took 10 hours to reply. Long enough to suggest she wrestled with it. Maybe even cried. Maybe stared at a mirror long enough to realize she didn't like what looked back. Then finally. Option B. Just send the paperwork. I won't fight. I just want it to end. And that was it. No courtroom. No headlines. No revenge porn tabloid ending. Just complete erasure. Mallory filed the documents. Got a neutral party to oversee the signatures. Within 72 hours, Vanessa Morgan ceased to exist in any legal way connected to me. She took her silence. I kept my legacy. The day the final papers were signed, I stood in my office, sunrise breaking through the window, and opened the safe. Not the one she emptied. A different one. Inside was an envelope marked for the next chapter. Inside that, a check. Payable to me. $10 million. Signed by a silent partner from the real estate deal, the one I told Vanessa I needed the cash for. It was never about buying the dream house. That was the decoy. The deal closed days before she ran. The $10 million? Already replaced. Because I knew. Some part of me always knew she'd run the moment the leash got too loose. So I let it happen. She didn't steal from me. She revealed herself. And now? She's a ghost. No name. No network. No recourse. I still get up at 5 a.m. Still drink my coffee black. Still open my laptop and build. Only difference? I don't carry weight that doesn't belong to me anymore. I carry clarity. You'd think the day she signed herself out of my life would feel like victory. It didn't. Not right away. It felt like the silence after an explosion, when your ears are still ringing and all you hear is your own breath. She was gone. Vanished. Just like she always wanted. And I was left standing in the rubble, holding the deed to a kingdom I didn't even want anymore. But here's the thing about survival. It's not loud. It's not glamorous. It's deliberate. First thing I did? I changed the locks. Not on my house, the locks in my head. I stopped checking old photos. Stopped wondering what she was doing. Stopped asking why. There's no why that explains a woman who kisses you goodnight while planning your financial funeral. You can't unpack betrayal like luggage. It doesn't fold neatly. So I threw it out. Next, I sold the house. The one she loved. The one with the perfect kitchen, the grand staircase, the wine cellar she filled but never opened a single bottle from. I sold it in a private deal to a hedge fund exec who was going through his second divorce. Guy didn't even blink at the price. Said it was market cleanse therapy. I took the money and moved into a smaller place. Not cheap. Not humble. Just mine. No curated furniture picked by an interior designer. No $800 throw pillows or ridiculous gold-plated faucets. Just quiet floors, stone countertops, and a view I chose because I liked it. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. You want to know the irony? It wasn't the money I missed. Not even the child. It was the version of myself I'd handed over to her piece by piece, hoping she'd cherish it. I missed the man who used to believe love was enough. But the truth? That man needed to die. So I could become this. Not colder. Not cruel. Just woke up. There's no going back once you've seen someone's true face. You can't unsee the performance. The way she feigned concern when I pulled all-nighters at the office. The way she wrapped her arms around me, whispering, "I'm proud of you," with eyes already calculating which pieces of my empire she could inherit. It's not that I didn't matter to her. It's that I only mattered as long as I produced. And that's not love. That's leverage. 6 months later, I went to dinner with a friend from an old venture capital round. She brought someone. A woman. Smart. Calm. Wore no makeup and had eyes that didn't need it. We talked about nothing for 2 hours. And I didn't check my phone once. I didn't tell her what happened. Not yet. I don't lead with scars anymore. I lead with boundaries. Because this isn't a redemption arc. This isn't about finding love again. This is about building something no one else can rob. Me. Some people bury their past with a prayer and a drink. Me? I buried mine with a story. One I told myself, over and over, until it stopped bleeding. Until it started sounding like a chapter in a book I didn't need to reopen. But closure isn't real until the world hears it, too. And Vanessa? She always controlled the narrative. Whispers. Appearances. Carefully curated tragedies with just enough mascara streaked down her cheek to make strangers lean in. But I had the truth. And now I had the mic. It started as a conversation with a podcast host, a guy named Wade. Former attorney turned interviewer, one of those long-form storytellers who brings people in not for clicks, but confessions. He'd heard through mutual contacts about a business mogul who nearly lost it all to love. He didn't know the half of it. "Want to tell your side?" he asked. "Not for sympathy," I said. "Just the facts." So we met in a small, sound-treated studio in Brooklyn. No entourage. No script. Just 2 chairs, a bottle of water, and 3 cameras I almost forgot were rolling. And I told it. Every detail. From the 10 million in a safe to the note she left. From the bricks in the bag to the fake passports. From the daughter I loved like my own to the DNA test that changed everything. I didn't cry. I didn't rant. I didn't ask for pity. I just spoke. And when I finished, Wade leaned back, blinking. "That," he said, "isn't a divorce story. That's a heist film with heartbreak." I smiled. For the first time in a while, it wasn't bitter. "It's a funeral," I said. "For who?" "For a version of myself that needed to die." The episode dropped 2 weeks later. Quiet title. No drama. The man she left with nothing except the truth. At first, I thought it would vanish into the sea of digital noise. But something funny happened. It didn't. It exploded. Not because of shock value. There were no screaming matches, no viral moments, no revenge porn. Just cold, clinical truth told by a man who had nothing to prove anymore. The comments rolled in. "He's not broken. He's rebuilt. That part about loving a daughter who wasn't his? Gut-wrenching. This needs to be a movie." And just like that, the narrative shifted. Vanessa didn't control the story anymore. I did. And better still, she couldn't touch it. Legally, she'd forfeited any right to claim defamation or misrepresentation. Mallory made sure of it. Every line of the podcast was cleared, verified, fact-checked. I wasn't attacking her. I was telling my story. Unfiltered. Undeniable. Unforgivable. The best part? People started reaching out. Not fans. Not followers. Victims. Men and women who'd been burned. Cheated. Used. Manipulated into thinking they were crazy while someone else siphoned their soul with a smile. They thanked me. Not for surviving, but for refusing to stay quiet. One guy wrote, "I thought I was the only one who got played by someone who looked like love and walked like poison." Another woman messaged, "You reminded me I'm not weak for being loyal. I'm strong for finally walking away." And that was better than revenge. Because I didn't just bury her story, I resurrected mine. It came on a Tuesday, in a plain envelope. No return address. No stamp, just couriered direct to my new office, because somehow, even ghosts remember the places you build, not just the ones you live in. My assistant brought it in like it was any other piece of mail. Just another envelope in a stack of invoices and quarterly projections. I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. The handwriting? I recognized it instantly. Even after everything. Vanessa. Neat. Round loops. The same script she used to sign birthday cards. The same ink she used to leave sticky notes on the fridge that said, "Miss you already," even when she was just running to Pilates. But this note wasn't short. It was 5 pages. Tightly written. No perfume. No drama. Just truth, at least, her version of it. "You won. I get that now. Not just the money, or the court filings, or the podcast. You won. You got to keep your name clean while I vanished. You got to speak your version of the story first. And maybe that's the one people believe. Probably is. Doesn't make it a lie. Just makes it yours. But I need you to know something. I didn't take the money because I hated you. I took it because I stopped recognizing myself. Because being with you felt like standing next to a mountain, beautiful, strong, and always reminding me how small I was. You didn't abuse me. You didn't cheat. You didn't even raise your voice. And that made me feel worse, somehow. Like I had no excuse for being unhappy. So I made one. I created chaos where there was none. I built a reason to leave because I couldn't admit I was the problem. Brielle doesn't know everything. I told her we went on a long trip. That you were busy with work. That someday she might see you again. But I didn't tell her you weren't her father. I couldn't. Not yet. Because despite it all, I know you were. You still are. In the ways that mattered. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I'm not asking for a second chance. I'm not asking for anything. I just needed to say it before the silence felt permanent. V. I sat there with the letter in my lap. And for once, I didn't feel heat in my chest. Didn't feel that cold press of anger in my ribs. Didn't want to shout or laugh or burn the pages. I just let it be. Because that's what you do at the end of a funeral. You lower the casket, real or not, and let the dirt do its job. Let her write her letter. Let her speak her piece. It doesn't change the ending. Doesn't rewrite the theft, the deception, the way she weaponized a child against a man who would have walked through fire for her. But it does one thing. It proves I'm still here. And she's not. There's a moment no one warns you about after the war ends. Silence. Not peace. Not relief. Just stillness. The kind that creeps into the cracks of your soul after the smoke clears. When there's no one left to fight. No more paperwork to file. No more revenge to plan. Just yourself and the question. Now what? The letter from Vanessa sat in a locked drawer. I didn't destroy it. Didn't frame it. Just stored it like a relic. Like some ancient artifact that once meant the world, and now meant nothing except the proof that it happened. Some days I open that drawer. Read a line or two. Not to feel anything. Just to remind myself what survival looks like on paper. The podcast had died down. The inbox slowed. My name wasn't trending anymore, and God, what a blessing that was. People moved on. The crowd always does. Some still emailed. Survivors. Strangers. One guy wrote, "You helped me understand that losing her wasn't the worst part. Losing myself to keep her? That was." I didn't write back. Didn't need to. Some things are better left in silence. Business boomed. Funny how that happens when you stop bleeding in secret. When your energy stops going into pretending everything's fine and starts going into building again. We launched a new product. Ironically, a digital vault system with actual security. I named the beta phase Brielle. Not because of her, but because of what she represented. Trust. Innocence. The version of me that still believed love was always earned. It was a reminder. Not of pain. Of purpose. I started working out again. Not the angry kind, just routine. Discipline. I met with an old friend. Ran the coast twice a week. No headphones. No distractions. Just breath and pavement and the sound of a heart still beating after everything it had been through. And then one morning, I stood in front of a mirror and realized something. I didn't recognize the man who got betrayed anymore. That guy? He was gone. What stood in his place was leaner. Sharper. Wiser. Not colder, but less willing. Less willing to hand over his trust like it was candy at Halloween. Less willing to apologize for expecting honesty. Less willing to sacrifice his boundaries for someone else's comfort. And more willing to protect what mattered. His time. His peace. His damn name. I got a card from Brielle. 3 months after the letter. It wasn't from Vanessa. It was written by Brielle herself, scrawled in purple marker. Probably dictated by someone else, but still. "Hi, Daddy. I have a new stuffed unicorn. She is not as good as Sparklecorn. Miss you. I made a drawing of you. You were holding pizza. Love, Brie." There was a sun in the corner. And a stick figure with a square jaw and an impossibly wide smile. Holding a slice of pepperoni. I stared at it for a long time. Didn't cry. Didn't break. Just whispered, "Yeah, kid. I miss you too." I always wondered what he looked like. The man she whispered to in the dark. While I was downstairs paying bills. Or standing on the porch wondering why I felt so alone in a house I paid for. His name was Theo. I only heard it once, in a text thread I recovered early on buried deep in the metadata of one of Vanessa's burner accounts. Theo had no last name. Just late-night messages, hotel reservations, and words like someday and after the plan. I never chased him. Not out of mercy. Out of strategy. Theo wasn't the one who took my life apart brick by brick. He just held the ladder. Vanessa built the scheme. Theo? He was just dumb enough to help her reach the top. But fate, that funny bastard, brought him to me. It happened at a hotel bar in Miami. I was down there closing a deal with a logistics startup. Late meeting. Tired eyes. I sat at the far end of the bar, loosened my tie, and ordered bourbon neat. Not the place I expected to see a ghost. But there he was. Gray sport coat. Too clean. A face that looked like it smiled to cover insecurity. A slight twitch in the left hand, probably still waiting on Vanessa's next set of instructions. He slid onto the stool next to mine. Didn't recognize me. Yet. "Scotch," he said to the bartender. "And whatever he's having on me." The bartender looked at me. I didn't say a word. Just smiled. Theo turned toward me, extended a hand. "Theo." I took it. Firm grip. Held for just a second too long. "Michael," I said. My real name. Didn't even flinch. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition? Maybe. Or just guilt, trying to dig itself out of a grave. We made small talk. Awkward stuff. Stocks. The heat. Politics. He talked like a guy who'd read too many TED Talks. All vision, no spine. Then he said it. You ever been married? I smiled into my glass. Yeah, once. What happened? I swirled the bourbon. She mistook me for a stepping stone. Theo laughed, tight, polite, nervous. Women, huh? I looked him dead in the eye. Only the wrong ones. He froze. That's when he knew. Didn't take long. The eyes darted. The color drained. He looked like a man who'd been sitting in a burning house and only just realized the smoke was real. You're... Yeah, I said. I'm him. He opened his mouth. Closed it. You have 5 seconds, I said. Say whatever truth's been rotting in your throat. Or walk. He didn't walk. He leaned in. And to his credit, he spoke. She told me you were cruel. Controlling. She said you never loved her. That the kid wasn't yours. I believed her. We were close. She said she needed help. I didn't know it was all lies until after you vanished from the picture and she started talking about accounts, safe codes, moving to Italy. I realized I wasn't her escape plan. I was just the warm-up act. She ghosted me, man. Right after the deal went down. She took the money and ran. I never saw a cent. Never saw her again. I thought I was her future. I wasn't even her partner. I was just another pawn. He looked down at his drink. I nodded once. That's the closest thing you'll get to forgiveness, I said. Then I paid the tab, stood up, and walked away. No punch, no threat, no public scene. Just one man standing taller than the one who tried to help take him down.